Hi everyone, my name is Georgi. Welcome to this video on how to get hired in software engineering. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my personal experiences with interviews and hopefully I'll be able to provide some tips to help you land your dream job as a software engineer. I am currently a master's student at Imperial College London. I am majoring in mathematics and computer science. After my second year at Imperial, I did an internship at American Express, and after my third year, I did a placement at Microsoft. I will be graduating in a few months, and I will be rejoining Microsoft in October as a full-time software engineer. Let's talk about how to secure our most important interviews. Because most companies usually have a multi-stage interview process, we can say the final round is, of course, the most important one. But in order to get to the final round, we need to make sure we know how to pass the previous rounds. So when doing interviews with any company, make sure you do your research on how the interviewing processes at that company work. You can try to connect with people who have recently joined the company, who remember the recruitment process very well, and they will be able to tell you about the structure of the recruitment process and maybe even help you with some of the questions that the company asks. Some companies, such as Amazon, for example, have a few rounds of video interviews where you are required to record yourself answering some technical and behavioral questions, and other companies just have a few rounds of live interviews where you can also be asked both technical and behavioral questions. During my job search, I interviewed with a few companies. Those included Amazon, Microsoft, and a few trading firms as well, like Optiver and IMC Trading. I got offers from Microsoft and from Amazon, so in the end I picked Microsoft. In general, tech companies tend to ask questions of similar style throughout their interview processes, so it is relatively straightforward to prepare for those. They can range from coding questions, algorithmic coding questions, to some system design questions. For example, Amazon's process requires candidates to first solve a coding test, and then, as I mentioned before, you will be required to record yourself on video answering some technical and behavioral questions. On the other hand, for example, Microsoft's process requires candidates to first solve a coding test once again, and then do one small technical interview before they get passed on to the final round. To prepare for those technical questions, I practiced solving lots of problems on LeetCode. I also revised my knowledge on data structures and algorithms. Books like Cracking the Coding Interview are very helpful for those, and they are also helpful for practicing system design questions, which can come up quite a lot, especially in final rounds. And if you're interviewing with a high-frequency trading firm, you should also expect some networking questions. So make sure that in order to prepare for those, you have a great understanding of networking protocols, mostly UDP and TCP, and can explain their different use cases. During any interview process, especially in final rounds, you may be asked questions that will expect to catch you off guard, both technical and behavioral. On the technical side, it's quite important to know the inner workings of most common data structures. For example, you may not be expected to know how a red-black tree works, but you will most likely be expected to be able to explain how a hash map works. When it comes to design questions, it's a good idea to have a good understanding of distributed systems. Even better, it's a good idea to have a good understanding of a large-scale distributed system developed by the company you're interviewing with. For example, if you're doing an interview with Amazon, some knowledge about DynamoDB will definitely be helpful. And this will also enable you to ask the interviewer some more in-depth technical questions about what their team does. And when it comes to behavioral questions, most of the times it's just important to be yourself. But it's also important to prepare for some questions that might catch you off guard, some questions you might have never answered or you might have never even thought of. So, for example, in Microsoft, I was asked, how would you handle a dispute with your manager? There are some things I believe will definitely help you stand out from other candidates. For example, when interviewing with any company, I made sure that I showed interest in the company's products and the company's culture. I made sure that I would ask every interviewer in-depth questions on what their team does and how I would fit as part of their team. And I also showed further enthusiasm by discussing my own projects and showing a deeper understanding of the technologies that I used. Another helpful tip for handling interviews, especially final rounds, is to make sure that you show the interviewers that you're an easy person to work with. If you find a mistake in one of your answers and realize that immediately, correct yourself and explain your reasoning. Also, look out for hints from the interviewers. It often happens that they will not straight up tell you if there is something wrong. So make sure you carefully listen to all they have to say. To summarize it all, make sure you practice your problem-solving skills by solving coding challenges and also working on personal projects. Prepare for technical questions by reviewing your data structures and algorithms knowledge, as well as networking knowledge. Show a strong interest in the company's products and technologies during the interviews, and also make sure to ask thoughtful questions about the company and its culture. Check out possible behavioral questions and make sure you practice answering those in order to not be caught off guard. And always listen to the interviewers carefully. They would not want to hire someone they wouldn't enjoy working with. All in all, getting hired in software engineering requires hard work, dedication, and good preparations. So hopefully, if you're able to follow the tips and strategies discussed in this video, you will be able to land your dream job in software engineering. Good luck on your job search.